In this video, I'd like to go back over how to create a frequency table from data. So, first thing you need is your TI calculator, and I would like you to enter all 44 data points into your calculator. So recall that you want to push the button that says Stat, and then Edit. Go to your L1 and enter your data. You might need to pause the video for you to do that. Okay. When you resume, the next thing you should do is go to the home screen on your calculator. Repeat pushing Stat. This time choose Sort A. Okay, and then you want to tell the calculator which list your data is in. In our case this time it would be L1. Press enter. Okay, and then if you go back in to Stat Edit and look at your L1, your data should be sorted in order. That will help us in creating the frequency table. Okay, so the next calculation we need to do is calculate the range. So now that your data is sorted, you should be able to see the minimum and the maximum value in your data set. Okay, I see that the high value is 54. The low value is 14. So when you subtract that, you'll find the range between the high and the low is 40. Okay, so then to create our class limits, we need to know the width for the number of classes required. In this particular problem, it says create a frequency table for this data consisting of 9 classes. Okay, so I should give you that information for the time being. If not, you'll have to ask me about that in class. Okay, so in our case here, the high minus the low, we just calculated, is 40. So the range is what's on top. Divide by the number of classes required. In this case, it's 9. Okay, so if you divide that, it comes out to be something like 4.44. And the rule on widths is you will always, always, always round up. I don't care what that value is. It could be a whole number. No matter what, you round up to the next number. So in this case, it's 5. So our width for this problem is going to be 5. Okay, so now we're ready to begin the class limits for our frequency table. So we're going to go over here to limits. Our starting value, just out of convenience, we're going to pick the lowest value in the data set. So our low value we had found before was 14. Okay, so we're going to create the lower class limits first. So using the width over here of 5, we're going to add down to get the next lower class limit. So when you add 5, you have 19, and you just continue until we get 9 classes. The next value would be 24, 29, and again, I'm adding the width down the column. Okay, 39, 44, 49, 54. Okay, so I'm just adding the width. Okay, so limits are not continuous. So the first upper class limit should be one different in this case from the 19. So the first upper class limit will start at 18. And then like the previous lower class side, on the upper side, we still add the class width of 5. So you'll add 23, add 5 again, 28, add 5, okay, add the width, add the width, add the width, and finally add the width. Okay, so that establishes our class limits. The next column is class boundaries. Okay, so class boundaries are when we create continuous intervals. Okay, so I filled those in for us already. So from 14, if we back up a half, we're at 13 and a half. 18, we go up to 18 and a half. And with boundaries, it's always, if I can write it in here, up to, but not including, kind of tight to write it in, that 18.5. Okay, so the second class starts here at 18.5 to 23 and up to, but not including the 23.5, and so forth. So like if I actually had 23.5 as a data value, it would go into this class right here. Okay, now class marks, okay, from your previous notes, marks are going to be the same as midpoints. Okay, so a mark and a midpoint, same thinking. So to calculate that, you're going to do 14 plus 18 and divide by 2. And if you do that, your mark is a 16. So it's always add the limits, divide by 2. 19 plus 23, I'm not sure you can read this, but I'll try again. 23 divided by 2 is going to be 21. Okay, now interesting to note, the difference between the midpoints from 16 to 21 happens to be, oh, look at that, it's 5. It's the width. So kind of a trick of the trade is, once you get the first midpoint, if you simply add the width down the midpoint column, you can generate all your midpoints without having to do the actual calculation. So I'm just adding 5, which is the width, right down this column. Okay. All right, now we are ready to use your calculator to determine the frequency of data values in the given intervals. I put a tally column in here. It's not necessary to use. Some folks like to count, like, how many points do I have and so forth. Okay, if you don't need that column, you can just simply do a little scribble like that. Ignore it, don't have to fill it in. Okay, I look on my calculator and I'm counting how many data points are there between 14 and 18. Okay, when I count, I counted 4 values. Okay, so I'm looking how many data values, that's the how many, are in the different intervals. Okay, so if you want to count on your calculator, I'll fill this column in for you. It's first one's 4, then a 3, 7 in this interval, then 4, the next 3 have 7, 4, and the last one has a 1. Okay, now if I've counted correctly and I want to check my work, the sum of this column should be 44. Okay, that little n right there will let us, sorry about that, is going to represent the total number of data values that you have in your data set. Okay, relative frequency is when we're going to convert things into decimals. Okay, so you take the individual frequency, divide by the total. So in this case, it'd be like doing 4 divided by 44, okay, and you get 0.091. If opportunity exists, you want to round these to 3 decimal places. All right, so like the next one would be 3 divided by 44.068. Okay, and again, you're just doing division, rounding 3 decimal places, and I'm just going through here and filling in your relative frequencies all the way to the bottom. Okay, and again, if you want to check your work, okay, I'm going to put in here a little sigma, and I don't know if you know that, what that means, but that says the sum. Okay, so the sum of this column, since it's decimals, should add up to be pretty close to 1. Sometimes it might be 0.99 or a 1.01 or something like that because of our rounding, but it should typically be very, very close to 1. Okay, next up is percentages. Okay, so to go to a percent, some of you might think of taking the decimal times 100 or simply move the decimal 2 places to the right. Okay, so like 9.1%, 6.8%, 15.9%, 9.1%, 15.9%, repeated here, 9.1%, 2.3%. Okay, if you wish to check your work in this column, if you think about it, the sum should be pretty close to, if you're in a percent, 100. Okay, and then lastly, we have cumulative frequencies, better known as the CF column. This one's like a running total. So you want to look over here to the frequency. Okay, and when you go through this column, okay, you want to take this first frequency and say, okay, at the end of the first class, I have 4 data values. Okay, then you go to the second frequency and think, all right, I have 4, now I have 3 more. So at the end of the second class, now I have 7 data points. Okay, add the next column, so the next interval's frequency, add 7. So now I have 14 total data points. 4 more, we have 18. Okay, add again, we have 25. Add 7 again, 32. So I'm just going down here. It's like a repeated addition, accumulating total data points at a given point. 32, then add 7 is 39, 43, 44. Okay, this total here always matches the total data points in the data set. If not, you have something that's not quite right. Okay, so that should complete how to fill in a frequency table using your calculator, set of data, and running through the given columns as we see fit. I hope this works out for you, and best wishes with your frequency table. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.